The moment you decide nothing controls you, there is a silent moment that changes everything. It doesn't happen when life gets easier. It doesn't happen when people finally behave the way you want. It happens the instant you realize something most people never do. Nothing can affect you without your permission. Not their words, not their moods, not their opinions, not their disrespect, not their silence. This audiobook is about that moment. This is Stop Letting Things Affect You, a guide to emotional mastery, inner control, and unshakable calm in a world designed to provoke you. Because the truth is simple, even if it's uncomfortable. You are not exhausted because life is hard. You are exhausted because you react to everything. You react to tone, to texts, to looks, to imagined intentions, to things that happened years ago and conversations that never actually occurred. And every reaction drains you. Every emotional spike costs energy. Every rumination steals focus. Every urge to explain yourself weakens your authority. The strongest people are not louder. They are calmer. The most powerful people are not reactive. They are selective. And the most dangerous person in any room is not the angriest one. It's the one who cannot be moved. Most people live as open circuits. Anyone can press a button and trigger them. A comment flips their mood. A message ruins their day. A memory hijacks their focus. They give strangers, co-workers, relatives, and even past versions of themselves complete access to their emotional controls. This audiobook exists to take that control back, not by becoming cold, not by suppressing emotion, not by pretending nothing matters, but by learning where your responsibility ends and where other people's chaos begins. Because emotional freedom is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of response. Right now, if you're honest, there are things that get under your skin instantly. Certain people, certain tones, certain situations. You already know what they are. And you may believe they have power over you. They don't. What has power over you is the meaning you assign, the story you tell yourself, the assumption you make before checking reality, the reflex you never trained yourself to pause. This audiobook will not ask you to become passive. It will teach you how to become untouchable without becoming disconnected. Because the goal is not to feel nothing. The goal is to feel on your terms. To choose when something deserves your attention and when it doesn't. To stop leaking energy into situations that don't build your future. To stop rehearsing arguments in your head with people who are not present. To stop reliving moments that are already over. To stop allowing emotional noise to interrupt mental clarity. There is a reason ancient philosophies, modern psychology, and elite performers all converge on the same truth. Control your reactions, and you control your life. But this control doesn't come from brute force. It comes from awareness, from training, from practicing small moments of restraint until restraint becomes instinct. Think about the last time something upset you. Did it actually threaten your safety? Or did it threaten your ego? Did it require an immediate reaction? Or did it simply feel urgent? Most emotional reactions are not necessary. They are habitual. You weren't born reactive. You were trained to be. And anything learned can be unlearned. In this audiobook, you will learn how to break the reflex to react instantly, create emotional boundaries that protect your peace, observe feelings without obeying them, stop giving explanations that weaken your position, detach from opinions that don't build your life, stay calm in moments designed to provoke you, become unbothered without becoming numb, and most importantly, you will learn how to keep your power when others try to take it. Because every time you react emotionally, you hand control to something outside yourself. And every time you pause, you take it back. The world will not become kinder. People will not suddenly become more reasonable. Situations will not stop testing you. But you can stop being available for emotional manipulation. And that changes everything. There is a version of you that does not argue internally all day. A version that does not replay conversations. A version that does not seek validation. A version that does not explain themselves unnecessarily. A version that stays steady while others unravel. That version already exists. You don't need to create it. You need to remove what's interfering with it. This chapter is about one core realization. You are not required to respond to everything you feel. Feelings are signals, not commands. Thoughts are suggestions, not orders. And other people's behavior is information, not instructions. Once you understand this, your entire nervous system begins to relax. You stop chasing emotional closure. You stop trying to control outcomes. You stop trying to win every interaction. And, paradoxically, that's when you become powerful. Because calm is intimidating. Silence is dominant. And self-control is unshakable authority. As you move through this audiobook, you will feel resistance. Your mind will want to justify reactions. Your ego will want to defend habits. That's normal. Change always threatens old patterns. But if something resonates with you so far, pause for a moment, take a breath, and ask yourself, what would my life look like if nothing could disturb my inner state without my consent? That question is the doorway. And in the next chapter, we will begin building the first real layer of emotional armor, unshakable boundaries that protect your inner peace without isolating you from life. Chapter 2. Building emotional boundaries that no one can cross. Most people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are about other people. They are not. Boundaries are about what you allow to enter your inner world. Because here is the truth most never accept. You cannot control what people say. You cannot control how they behave. You cannot control their moods, projections, or insecurities. But you can control how far those things travel inside you. And emotional boundaries are the walls. Not walls that isolate you from life. Walls that protect your peace. Why you feel drained all the time. If you constantly feel exhausted, irritated, or overwhelmed, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're emotionally overexposed. You absorb tones that aren't yours. You carry worries that aren't yours. You replay conversations that are already finished. You let situations live rent-free in your mind long after they're over. That's not empathy. That's leakage. Empathy without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Emotional boundaries are internal, not verbal. Most people think setting boundaries means explaining yourself. It doesn't. The strongest boundaries are silent. They happen inside. You stop engaging internally. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop needing to clarify or defend. You don't announce boundaries. You enforce them through non-participation. Because reacting is participation. The most important shift. Here is the shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, why am I letting this stay with me? That question puts power back in your hands. Because events happen. People behave poorly. Misunderstandings occur. But suffering begins when you refuse to let go. Not everything deserves access. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves consideration. Not every emotion deserves obedience. Some things deserve observation, and nothing more. When someone speaks from anger, insecurity, or projection, they are revealing themselves, not defining you. If you internalize everything, you surrender authority over your identity. Strong people don't absorb chaos. They let it pass. The art of emotional distance. Distance is not avoidance. Distance is clarity. You can care without carrying. You can listen without absorbing. You can observe without identifying. This is emotional maturity. Instead of stepping into every situation, you step back, you watch, you assess, you decide. And that pause is where freedom lives. Why silence is often the strongest response. Silence is not weakness. Silence is restraint. It communicates, I'm not available for this. No explanation, no justification, no escalation, just containment. Most arguments die when one person refuses to emotionally enter the arena, because conflict needs fuel. Silence removes it. The internal filter. Begin practicing this simple filter. Before reacting, ask yourself, does this affect my future? Does this require action? Or just attention? Will reacting improve the outcome? If the answer is no, let it go. Not dramatically, not angrily. Calmly. Why boundaries create confidence. Every time you protect your inner state, something shifts. You trust yourself more. You feel grounded. You stop feeling hijacked by external noise. Confidence doesn't come from dominating others. It comes from self-governance. When you know nothing can shake you without permission, you move differently. You speak slower. You listen deeper. You act deliberately. A hard truth. Some people will resist your boundaries, not because you're wrong, but because they benefited from your emotional availability. Your reactions fed them. Your explanations validated them. Your engagement empowered them. When you withdraw that access, dynamics change. Let them. Your peace is not negotiable. The foundation is set. This chapter lays the foundation. You now understand. Boundaries are internal. Silence is strength. Reaction is optional. Distance creates clarity. In the next chapter, we will go deeper into the mechanics of reaction itself, why your mind jumps before you decide, and how to break the habit of instant emotional response. This is where control becomes automatic. Chapter 3. Why you react before you think, and how to stop it. Reaction feels automatic, instant, involuntary, uncontrollable. But it isn't, it's trained. And anything trained can be retrained. Most people believe their reactions are proof of authenticity. If I feel it, I must express it. If I'm upset, I must react. If something hurts me, it deserves a response. That belief keeps them trapped, because reacting is not honesty. Reacting is conditioning. The biology of reaction. Your brain has two systems. One is fast, primitive, emotional. The other is slow, rational, deliberate. Reaction happens when the fast system hijacks the moment before the slow system wakes up. It's designed to protect you from physical danger. But modern life isn't filled with predators. It's filled with emails, messages, opinions, social pressure. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. It reacts as if everything is a threat. That's why your heart races over a text. Why criticism feels personal. Why silence feels like rejection. Your body is responding to perceived danger, not actual danger. Why you feel out of control. You feel out of control because reaction happens faster than awareness. The thought comes after the emotion. The justification comes after the outburst. The regret comes after the reaction. But here's the key insight. There is always a fraction of a second before reaction. It's small, subtle, almost invisible. That fraction is where freedom lives. The pause that changes everything. The pause is not dramatic. It's not meditation. It's not deep breathing for 10 minutes. It's a moment of awareness. A single question. What is happening inside me right now? That question creates space. And space breaks the chain. Emotion, reaction, consequence. With space, the chain becomes emotion, awareness. Choice. Choice is power. You are not your emotions. This is where most people get stuck. They identify with what they feel. I am angry. I am hurt. I am offended. No. You are experiencing anger. You are experiencing hurt. You are experiencing offense. That distance matters because you cannot control what you are, but you can observe what you experience. Observation dissolves compulsion. Why emotions demand immediate action. Emotions want movement. They want release. That's why reacting feels relieving in the moment. But relief is not resolution. Relief often creates new problems. Most people trade short-term relief for long-term regret. Control means tolerating discomfort without discharging it immediately. That's strength. The muscle you've never trained. Self-control is a muscle. Most people never train it. They let emotions decide. They let impulses lead. They let habits dominate. But the muscle grows with repetition. Each time you pause instead of react, it strengthens. Each time you observe instead of explode, It grows. Each time you choose silence instead of argument, it compounds. At first, it feels unnatural. Then it feels powerful. Eventually, it feels automatic. The reaction trap. Here's what reaction actually does. It gives others control over your state. It hands power to situations that don't deserve it. It keeps you emotionally predictable. It drains energy without creating solutions. People who can trigger you can control you. And nothing is more dangerous than being predictable. Becoming unreactive does not mean being passive. This is critical. Control does not mean submission. It means timing. You choose when to respond, how to respond, if to respond. You stop being impulsive. You become intentional. That makes your actions heavier, your words sharper, your presence calmer. A practice to begin today for the next 24 hours. When you feel the urge to react, do nothing for 10 seconds. Not forever, just 10 seconds. In those 10 seconds, notice the sensation, name the emotion, let it peak, then decide. Most urges dissolve when not fed. What comes next? Once you stop reacting automatically, a new challenge appears. Your mind keeps replaying situations, even when you stay silent, even when you walk away, even when nothing happens externally. The battle moves inward. In the next chapter, we will dismantle the mental loops that keep emotions alive long after the moment has passed. This is where inner quiet is built. Chapter 4. The Mind That Won't Let Go. How overthinking keeps you trapped. You didn't react. You stayed calm. You held your tongue. You walked away. But later, your mind wouldn't stop. The scene replayed. The words echoed. The emotions returned. Stronger, sharper, louder. This is where most people lose. Not in the moment, but after it. Because even when you control your behavior, your mind keeps reacting. Silently, endlessly, relentlessly. Why your mind replays everything. The brain is a meaning-making machine. When something emotional happens and doesn't get resolved, the mind reopens the file. Again, and again, and again. It's not trying to torture you. It's trying to protect you. Your mind is asking, what does this mean? What should I have done? What if it happens again? But the problem is, the mind doesn't solve emotional pain by thinking. It multiplies it. The illusion of thinking. You believe you're thinking your way to clarity, but most overthinking is not thinking. It's rumination, thinking without direction, replaying without resolution, analyzing without action. Rumination feels productive, but it leads nowhere. It keeps emotions alive long after the threat is gone. Why silence feels uncomfortable. When you stop reacting externally, all the energy turns inward. That's why silence can feel heavier than conflict. Conflict releases energy outward. Silence forces you to contain it. Most people would rather explode than contain, but containment is the gateway to mastery. The difference between awareness and identification. Here's the shift that changes everything. Instead of saying, my mind won't stop, say, I notice my mind is active. That distance is everything. You are not the voice. You are the one who hears the voice. And anything you can observe, you are no longer controlled by. Why thoughts have no power on their own thoughts feel powerful because you believe them. But a thought is just a sentence, a suggestion, a story. It has no authority unless you give it attention. Attention is oxygen. Withdraw oxygen. The fire dies. A practical interruption. Technique. When your mind starts looping, do not argue with it. Do not reason with it. Do not analyze it. Instead, ask, is this thought useful right now? Not true, not fair, not justified, useful. If it doesn't lead to action, insight, or peace, it's noise. Label it noise. Then return to the present moment. The present is always neutral. Notice something important. Your suffering is rarely happening now. It's happening in memory or imagination. The present moment is usually quiet. Breathing, standing, sitting, walking. Peace is not something you create. It's something you return to. Why you don't need closure. The mind wants closure. Apologies, explanations, validation. But waiting for closure gives others control over your peace. Closure is a decision. I no longer engage with this internally. That's power. Mental discipline is emotional freedom. Unbothered people are not numb. They are disciplined. They don't chase every thought. They don't entertain every emotion. They don't give energy to every trigger. They choose where their mind lives. What comes next? Even when thoughts quiet down, there is one final challenge. Other people, their words, their opinions, their behavior. In the next chapter, we will uncover how external validation and other people's energy hijack your inner state, and how to become immune without becoming cold. This is where true independence begins. Chapter 5. Other people's opinions are not your responsibility. There is a reason some people can stay calm in chaos. It's not because life treats them better. It's because they stopped letting other people rent space in their mind. Most emotional suffering doesn't come from events. It comes from interpretation, from what you think others think, from what you imagine they meant, from the stories you attach to their words, their tone, their silence. And, once again, the damage doesn't happen out there. It happens inside. The trap of seeking validation. From childhood, you were trained to look outward, approval, praise, acceptance. You learned early. Be liked to be safe. Be accepted to belong. Be understood to matter. But here's the truth most people never face. The moment you need validation, you give away control. Because now your emotional state depends on someone else's mood, opinion, or misunderstanding. That is not connection. That is dependency. Why people's opinions feel so loud. Other people's opinions feel powerful because you believe they define you. But they don't. They define their perception, not your reality. Every opinion is filtered through someone else's. Experiences, fears, insecurities, limitations. You're not being judged as you are. You're being judged through someone else's lens. Why should that control your peace? The uncomfortable truth about being misunderstood. At some point, you must accept this. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will like you. Not everyone will be fair. And that's not a flaw in you. That's a fact of life. Trying to control how others see you is exhausting, because it's impossible. Freedom begins when you stop auditioning. What emotional independence really means. Emotional independence is not isolation. It's not coldness. It's not indifference. It's this. I can hear your opinion without absorbing it. I can listen without reacting. I can disagree without defending. That's power. The difference between feedback and noise. Not all opinions are equal. Some are feedback. Most are noise. Feedback comes from people who know you, is specific and actionable, is delivered with clarity. Noise is emotional, vague, reactive, often says more about the speaker than you learn to separate the two. You don't owe your attention to noise. A simple filter that changes everything. Before letting someone's words affect you, ask, would I take advice from this person? If the answer is no, why take their criticism? Why take their judgment? Why take their energy? Respect is selective. Attention should be too. Why strong people don't explain themselves. Weakness explains. Strength observes. When you constantly explain yourself, you are seeking permission to exist. Strong people don't chase understanding. They allow misunderstanding. They don't need to be agreed with to be grounded. The moment you stop defending yourself, something powerful happens. You stop reacting. You stop arguing. You stop carrying conversations long after they end. You reclaim mental space. Peace grows in the space where defense once lived. You are not here to be manageable. The need to be liked makes you shrink. The need to be approved makes you silent. The need to avoid conflict makes you fake. But the version of you that never upsets anyone also never fully lives. Choose honesty over harmony. Choose peace over performance. What comes next? Even when you detach from opinions, there is one final trigger most people struggle with: life itself. Unexpected problems, stress, loss, uncertainty. In the next chapter, we'll uncover how to stay unshaken when life doesn't go according to plan, and how to remain calm when nothing is in your control. This is where unbothered becomes unbreakable. Chapter 6. When life doesn't go your way. There is a moment in every life when control disappears. Plans collapse, people change, outcomes betray expectations, and suddenly, it feels personal. But here is the truth most people resist. Life is not attacking you. It is unfolding. The suffering begins when you demand certainty from a world built on change. Why resistance creates pain. Pain is often unavoidable. Suffering is optional. The difference? Resistance. When you say, "This shouldn't be happening," "This isn't fair," "This ruins everything," you fight reality, and reality always wins. The strongest minds don't fight what is. They respond to it. Control is an illusion. Adaptation is power. You were never meant to control life. You were meant to navigate it. Trying to control everything creates anxiety. Learning to adapt creates confidence. Calm people aren't lucky. They're flexible. The moment you stop asking, "Why me?" "Why me?" is a trap. It keeps you stuck in victimhood. It drains energy. It solves nothing. Replace it with, "What now? What's required of me here? What's the next correct move?" That shift alone changes everything. Stoic strength. Feel without falling apart. Emotional control doesn't mean suppression. You are allowed to feel pain. You are allowed to feel disappointment. You are allowed to grieve. But you don't have to collapse inside it. Feel the emotion, then choose the response. That pause, that space, is mastery. When nothing is certain, clarity comes from within. External stability is fragile. Jobs change, relationships shift, circumstances evolve. If your peace depends on consistency, you will always be vulnerable. Real peace comes from internal alignment, from knowing who you are regardless of what happens. The power of acceptance. Acceptance is not giving up, it is seeing clearly. When you accept reality, you stop wasting energy fighting it and start using energy shaping your response. Acceptance is the gateway to strength. Calm is a decision, not a mood. Calm isn't something you wait for. It's something you choose. In the middle of chaos, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of pressure, you choose not to react. You choose not to spiral. You choose to breathe, observe, and act. That choice, repeated, rewires you. When life tests you, it reveals you. Hard moments don't ruin you. They expose habits. They reveal attachments. They show where you still seek control instead of resilience. Every challenge is feedback, not punishment, instruction. The unbothered mindset. An unbothered mind says, "This is uncomfortable, not unbearable. This is difficult, not dangerous. This is temporary, not permanent." Perspective dissolves panic. What comes next? Even if you master reactions to people and events, there is one final battlefield left. Your own thoughts. The internal dialogue that keeps replaying, ruminating, rehearsing worst-case scenarios. In the next chapter, we confront the mind itself and learn how to silence the noise that keeps pulling you out of peace. Because true freedom begins inside. Chapter 7. Silencing the noise inside your head. If nothing outside of you could affect you, would you finally be at peace? Most people think their problem is the world. It's not. It's the conversation happening inside their own mind. The mind is a storyteller, not a truth machine. Your mind narrates everything. It predicts, it assumes, it exaggerates. It replays moments that are already over, and then it convinces you that every thought is fact. It isn't. A thought is just a suggestion. Why overthinking feels so real. Overthinking feels powerful because it feels productive. But most thinking is not solving, it's circling. Same memory, same fear, same imaginary outcome. Different day. Mental noise isn't intelligence, it's untrained attention. You are not your thoughts. This realization changes everything. You hear thoughts, you notice them, you observe them, which means you are not them. The moment you stop identifying with every thought, its power weakens. The space between stimulus and response. There is a moment, a fraction of a second, between a thought and a reaction. Most people miss it. They react automatically. But disciplined minds slow that moment down. They ask, is this useful? Is this true? Does this deserve my energy? Most thoughts fail that test. Mental discipline is selective attention. You don't stop thoughts, you stop feeding them. What you focus on grows, what you ignore fades. Attention is fuel, choose carefully. The replay trap. The mind loves replaying. Arguments you already had, mistakes you already made, conversations that are finished. Replaying doesn't fix the past, it poisons the present. The past cannot hear your regret. Let it go. Practice. Label, don't engage. When a thought appears, don't wrestle it. Label it. Fear, memory, prediction, judgment. Then return to the moment. Thoughts lose power when they're seen clearly. Stillness is a skill. Silence doesn't happen automatically. You train it through breath, through awareness, through choosing presence again and again. At first, the mind resists. Then it learns. The moment you stop arguing with your mind, you don't win arguments inside your head. You exit them. You redirect attention to what is real. Your breath, your body, this moment. Reality is always quieter than imagination. Unbothered thinking. An unbothered mind says, this thought can exist without controlling me. I don't need to answer every mental question. I can choose peace without explanation. That is freedom. What comes next? You've learned how to handle people. You've learned how to handle events. You've learned how to handle thoughts. But there is one final test. What happens when life pushes your emotional buttons hard? In the next chapter, we learn how to remain centered when pressure rises, when emotions spike, and when others try to pull you out of control. Because mastery is proven under pressure. And if this audiobook shifted something in you, share it, like it, comment the line that hit hardest, and tell us, what inner skill should we master next? Because this is not the end. This is where control becomes natural.